Good morning and welcome to Clonard Monastery here again. I'm Brendan Keane, one of the community here in Clonard. And I just want to talk to you for a very short while this morning about prayer. My mother came from a very large family. There were 13 of them in it. And as you can imagine, I have an awful lot, a very big extended family, and many of them live in Connemara, in the Gaeltacht of Connemara in County Galway, and I regularly would go out there to see them, my first cousins and second cousins, and different relations. About 7 or 8 years ago, I brought a friend of mine from Belfast out with me. He was just down for a few days' holidays, and we went out to see the relations, as I called it, on one particular day. And as usual, in about 2 or 3 hours, I went around to as many of them as possible. I dropped in here for a few minutes and then to another one for a few minutes. As I say, I did that for about 2 or 3 hours. And on the way back, my friend Michael said to me, "Jeepers, Brendan," he says, "it was great to be with you and it was a great experience." And he said, "They certainly love you very much and they have a lot of regard for you." And then after saying that, he said something else to me. He said, "Brendan, did you ever think that instead of rushing around to a whole lot of your relations, maybe you might just go to a few of them and, have a longer time with fewer people?" And then he said something to me, which I thought was quite profound. He said, he said, "It's very important to spend time, quality time, with the people who love you most." I'll give you that again, because it struck me very forcibly. He said, "It's very important to spend quality time with the people you know love you most." And there's a great truth in that. Because when you're with the people who love you most, you're going to feel secure. You get a sense of belonging. You have a kind of an inner peace. You're at your ease. And you probably will talk more honestly to them than you will to anybody else. Shortly after that, something else struck me. It was this. Wouldn't it be great if we could see prayer like that? And I suggest that to you this morning, that prayer is spending quality time with the person who loves you most. I'd repeat that. To try to see prayer as spending quality time with the person who loves you most. Now, I know and I hear that during this pandemic, people are probably praying more. Some people are. And there might be some people who haven't prayed for a long time who are trying to pray again. So, whatever your situation is in, I suggest this, and I hope it might help you. I suggest this thought to you, that you would try to pray, but before you come to pray, just simply take time and say this to yourself, reflect. I'm now going to spend some time, it might be a long time, it might be a short time, with the one person who loves me most. And enter into that situation and remind yourself that I'm now in the presence of the person who loves me most. And what I suggest to you is focus in on God, the person who loves you most. Focus on God and don't be too focused on yourself, as it were. Try not to be strained. Try not to see it just as an obligation. And simply just sit there in the presence of the person who loves you most. Focus in on his welcoming you. Focus in on his love for you. Focus in on his total acceptance of you. Focus in on the God who's sensitive to you, who's involved with you, who wants to hear you and who wants to talk to you, who just longs to be in your company and to have you in his. And with that God, the person, I repeat, who loves you most, focus on him. Just simply pray then by saying exactly what you want to say and by listening and by trying to just hear that love and trying to be as honest as you can in what you say to him. So I repeat, try to pray with the focus on the fact that you're in the presence of the person who loves you most. And I suggest that prayer to you today. Maybe if you're someone who's very sick and you're in hospital, or you might be sick and you're at home, or you might be looking after someone in hospital or someone who's sick at home. You might be somebody who's in a nursing home. You could be somebody who's in prison. You could be somebody who cares about somebody who's in prison. You might be someone who's suffering from depression. You might be someone who's feeling a lot of the pressure and the worry of this present time. I just finish with the quotation from the gospel itself, where Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and overburdened, and I will refresh you." Think of it very simply. When I pray, I'm in the presence of the person who loves me most in this life. Thanks very much for listening.